Kim here. Today is August 17th, 2018, Friday. As I record this video, market should be open for another 2 hours. So you should be seeing some flashing lights on your left. Again, my name is Kim with the Traders Club. Welcome to the market update. I publish this video on a weekly basis. And so today we're going to be looking, actually I'm actually have some energy today. So let's look at Spider, IWM. Let's look at Walmart, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Tesla, Nvidia, and Google. I mean, I get requested quite a bit that I should do FANG stocks, and so today I will look at those, and hopefully this video is not going to be too long. But again, hope you guys had a good week trading this week. Market, some shake and baking here, lots of up and down, some island reversals, gap downs, gap ups. If you pay attention and focus on a daily basis, this market is designed to make your life miserable. You see a lot of what bears were thinking. Bears thinking, well, last time we hit this resistance, it did this. Last time we hit that resistance, it did that. So this time hit this resistance, well, you should do this. And then what happens is it looked like we're going to do that because we got these two gap downs, and then it flipped over. We gapped that up. It opened another island reversal. When you see green box, that means they're island reversal. For bulls, bulls have actually opened 3 gaps now. You can see that, and that's a good sign for the buyers. Bears already flopped. We talked about these 2 gaps getting closed, and that's what bulls needed to do. That was their task, to get up there and fill these gaps. Once these 2 gaps were closed, there was no leverage for bears to use against bulls. That's where that selling pressure was coming from. Obviously, it did make things very, very hectic for their buyers for months and on. And so now though, the table has been turned. And I've been talking about this. There's still Elliott wave lunatics out there thinking that this thing is gonna out of nowhere just gonna do this. But if you actually look at the data itself, what you see in your eyes, not these ghost data, not this your fearful emotion, but if you actually looked at the data that you can see here, we built the base. We've been talking about for months. You've been tired of me saying this for months. I mean, I've been talking about the same thing since February, that we've been building this base. We're never a downtrend. We never cultivated lower low. If anything, this was an equal low and double bottom there. Ever since then, we've been cultivating higher lows, higher highs, broken out of this base. And I've been talking about that once we broke out, if we can able to hold this gap up and protect, then the buyers are really winning this battle here. And so something I talked about is a 20 MA. I actually modified that 20 MA as setting at low. So if you actually bring this 20 MA setting at low, you can see that 20 MA has respected here a few days ago. We threw a hammer. 20 MA was respected there as well. So that we can see that these short-term buyers, short-term dip buyers are coming in, buying these dips. And then we gapped up, and that made an island reversal because that was a gap down the day before. You open here, gap down, next day gapped up, there's the island reversal. Well, this gap that was open in August 9th is getting closed. It is probably already closed. Let me check it is already closed as I just checked my intraday chart there on my other screen. So this gap has been filled already. Bears got no gaps as of today. Nothing. Nada. They got nothing. There's no bearish divergence on the weekly chart. There's no warning signal. There's nothing at this point. There's nothing at this point that bears can say that the whole market is going to crash. Nothing. Only hope the bears have at this point is some kind of alien invasion. Some creatures out of space coming here and just completely bombing the Wall Street. Or like China or North Korea or doing some shit, which probably not going to happen. Bears got nothing. Bulls have already opened these 3 gaps here, and things are looking very, very good for the bulls. Does not mean that we're not going to see volatility. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have a short-term pullbacks. But looking at things in a long term, things are looking really, really fresh, really, really sharp for the bulls, and I believe that we're gonna get into 300 here pretty soon. And we've been bound by this rising channel, correct? And it's been lethargic, right? So once we break out of it, that's when you're gonna see the market is getting into a second gear, and it's gonna go faster and faster and faster. But keep in mind, as long as we're in this rising channel, things could get hectic. Even though we got this island reversal, there could be some shenanigan where we'll come back down to retest that or something like that. So we'll take it a day by day, week by week. We'll see how that plays out. Because the gap was just recently filled, I mean like 10 minutes ago, that gap was filled. I won't be surprised that there might be kind of, again, I'm recording this, there's 2 more hours left. I won't be surprised to see some end of the day pullback, just kind of like what we saw yesterday. Because a lot of times a gap gets filled, you know that if you've been following me long enough, that gap does act as resistance. If it's a downside gap, it's going to act as resistance. If it's upside gap, it's going to act as support. I give you an example. This right there, this was a gap, right? Bears came and filled that. What happened? It acted as support. So a lot of times these gaps going to act as, this downside gap is going to act as resistance. I won't be surprised to see some fade towards the end of this day, if not maybe early next week, unless we see another gap up or gapping it up over this fan. This is we're near all-time high here, so I could see, and then we got this rising channel resistance. I could see some shenanigan happening in this vicinity. So do not pay attention to day-to-day movement. You know what I mean? And don't let the market get to you emotionally, right? Your time, your energy is precious. Do not waste it on the market. Looking at the market, looking at IWM here, Russell 2000, we got a little tiny gap that is still open, actually. That's a good sign. We got this rising uptrend support. I've been tweeting about it for a while, that are we going to break above it or are we going to break below, seeing some shenanigans? I'm not sure. 50-50. I guess I would say 55-45. Since we are in an uptrend, it could possibly break out to the upside 55%. We can break lower 45%. But either way, you're going to see shenanigan. What's going to happen is if it does break out to the upside, people are going to chase it and market is going to punish them. If it does break down to the downside, well, people's stops are going to get taken, and then it's going to reverse. Either way, we're going higher. I just don't know exactly how, but we are going higher. So Russell 2000 with consolidation, we had this kind of bullish up move. Consolidation is a very, very good thing. Only problem is once it breaks out of that consolidation, is it going to be a smooth ride and smooth up move? Sometimes market gives you that kind of luxury, but more often than not, market is going to give you some shenanigan just in case there's people trying to chase this thing. Let's go to Walmart here. Walmart, I've been talking about Walmart here. We had a big gap up here after their earnings, their revenue growth best in 10 years. That's a good sign. Big gap up here. Something I talked about down here. You guys remember, why chase after stocks like Amazon and Facebook? When I talked about it, you guys remember? If you follow me on Twitter at 2KKim, I even sent you a chart, or tweeted a chart and said, don't chase what has already moved. I mean, if you've been already in these positions in these stocks that has gone up a lot, that's great. But why chase it? Why not focus on a stock that has a good fundamentally, right? And it has a significant pullback. And then you can see that, you know, we saw kind of a pretty big move there with a gap up there. So see if you can sustain this gap. It's normal to come and fill maybe halfway. That's the worst case. I don't think it's going to get completely filled. I've seen it completely fill even the big gap, but it's rare to see. But you know, it's not. You know, it's not a bad thing if it comes on maybe feel half of it before going higher. But the important part would be then we want to see at least 50% or more gap remaining open. Remember the gaps. We want to see the gap open before going higher. This downside gap is still open, so that's a gap that you want to watch out. Once the gap gets filled, probably act as support or resistance before going higher. But I like Walmart for long term. Let's look at Facebook here. Facebook did see that kind of a 20% gap down. We're trying to gap back up here. Where did you think we found resistance? Well, that 50 MA, 20 MA residing in that vicinity. We're coming back down here. you can see that we do have a rising uptrend support. This is a very prominent, conspicuous rising uptrend support. What I really want to see is this thing breaking below it and let all the Facebook fanboys to just start to just panic in biggest fear ever, right? Then once there's blood in the street, that's what I would start to look for, you know, maybe buying at certain level. If you do a fib, yeah, I mean, I like it. For me to start, I'm not saying I'm gonna buy it right at 120, but you know, I like it. I like it around 120 to buy the dip. But again, I'm not. You know, I don't know. I mean, 41 might not be a bad area, but we may. I mean, it could very well just you know, just take this support and then just goes right back up. I'm not sure, but let's say there's a shenanigan happen and then it does come down quite a bit, and that's where I'll be looking to acquiring some position there on Facebook. Right now, this gap still remains open. That's a huge gap. And so the longer that gap remains open, the more hectic it's going to be. There's actually downside gap I just saw right there. It is actually not filled. So actually that's a good, actually now that I see the downside gap that has not been filled, we could see some support here actually. So I'll just move this up here. So 170.98, and then, so you know what? That gap is really gonna save Facebook, I think. We probably not, the market is bullish, and yeah, I don't think Facebook is coming down all the way there. Unless like next earnings it does another gap down, but as far as just regular trading day is concerned, I don't think we're coming back. We got this big gap up that's gonna act as strong support there. So that's a good that's a good deployment there from the bulls. So let's see how that plays out. Let's go to Apple. Apple's been really making its great move here. 50 MA been acting support, really got into second gear after all this consolidational phase. That's a great looking move there. Everything looks, I mean, we're getting into a little bit, you know, extended on the daily and weekly, but look at this. Just this is a great move here. That's a 5 EMA and 10 EMA, 20 EMA. Actually, that's a 10 EMA. Actually, that's a 10 EMA there. If I had options on this, this is probably a place I'll close out some, but still hold remaining. Amazon still making its run after all this move. Is a monster. I mean, obviously, it is very tough to short. This is not a level I'm going to start buying. I won't be buying any of these levels, but this is a level that if you've been long, maybe some of these levels, then this is a level to keep holding as it is continue to respect that 20 MA there. But this is a very difficult to trade. This is a very difficult start, but unless you're a very short-term trader, like you go long here, you close it out a little bit, and you can keep doing that. See where nobody knows where the top is, and this thing is continue on. So you want to continue to give benefit of the doubt. Netflix, however, it's been coming down here, and so it's something when you start to see a stock like Netflix start to come down like this is not the time to start, okay, I'm going to pull my money in that, or I'm going to start to, you know, focus on the stocks that are moving and I'm going to ignore the stocks coming down. That is actually not the way to look at things. When the stock is moving like Amazon, that's when you don't want to focus, because you don't want to chase it. Why chase it? Don't ever chase a stock, right? I mean, if you've been in Amazon for a couple months and stuff, or maybe a year or 2 years, and you're a long-term investor, you're benefiting, you're enjoying it, that's great. Maybe pull some out, but keep holding most of it and just keep riding it, enjoying the game. But if you're not in it, why waste it, right? Why chase it, right? So Netflix, I haven't traded Netflix quite some time. I think since I forgot somewhere here. And then I never was able to find good entry for myself. So now that Netflix is coming down, I'm kind of looking at it here. I think a lot of people are looking at this channel resistance or support, potentially come down here, get up. We did lose that 100 SMA, 150 EMA is about to get. We got the 20, 50 cross, downside cross there. That 50, 100 may cross or not, but we do have 100, 200 in that vicinity, at 288, 290-ish level, which is coinciding with the rising channel resistance, or rising, let's call this rising pivot, right? So that's kind of where I think a lot of people are watching here to be a support. That's a good support, and you see a lot of these things sometimes do something like this and then continue higher, either that could be your confirmation entry or just buying the dip strategy. Or again, we don't know at this moment how it's going to play out. Or if market thinks that everybody's watching it, it's going to give you that. Just so that shake a lot of people out and come back to retest the gap area. If that happens around 250, I will be very interested in it around 250s. Around 200s or 300s, I would have to see some confirmation, things like that. But if it comes 250, I'll be very, very interested in getting into it. Let's go to Tesla. Tesla is just still a lot of up and down shenanigan. Every time it makes new highs, it just pulls back. Just been brutally punishing chasers up here on this breakout, but technically we are still forming, cultivating higher lows, though there are a lot of gaps here. We got gap down and gap down there, and completely feel this big gap. Was it an earnings gap? Earnings gap, and there are a lot of news about what Elon Musk has tweeted about. You know, it's just stupid. I don't know why he tweets some stupid things like that. That's the thing about Tesla, is I don't have any faith in Elon Musk. I think he's kind of a nerd. I'm sorry. I think Elon Musk is kind of a nerd. But I don't want to trade Tesla. I just don't want to get into it. I don't like this stock, and I don't like what Elon Musk. So but technically we do have a higher lows here, and see if we can hold that, you know, but we've been just really chopping around here, consolidating. Consolidation is usually a good sign, especially in this major pivot. It's actually a bullish signal. Consolidation is actually a bullish signal. It has, I mean, obviously anything can happen. It can either break lower or higher, but there's a higher probability breaking higher. There will be a lot of shenanigans. Look at this. Look at this consolidation. We got up here. We consolidated right here. I mean, long-term consolidation, right? There was shenanigans. There was a trap, and then we broke out. You see, so consolidation, there could be a trap here and there, but consolidation normally is a good thing for the stock before going higher. It's usually a resuming, a resting, digesting kind of a action there. So let's I don't have any position. I don't want to get into it, but I thought I'll look at it. But Nvidia had a bad earnings yesterday. Pulled back a little bit. It's not a big deal at all, but Nvidia is slowly pulling back, and we're starting to stall out here. Kind of starting to look heavy a little bit. When you go to weekly chart, you look at that. You can see, we can see this again. It's grindy. When it's grindy like this, it's not potent. So it's when you can see, it's like there's peaks and peaks and peaks, peaks and peaks and peaks. Not potent bearish divergence there, but we're starting to see kind of buyers starting to get tired. I mean, you know what though? I mean, with this kind of move on this monthly, look at that. I mean, of course, I mean, it's no surprise that nothing should be surprising at this point. As far as entries or anything like that concerned, this is not where I want to be involved. No, none of this area, because it could, none of this area. So, but just know that we're starting to slow down a little bit here, but we got some of these long-term moving averages. 100 SMA is still technically rising, and that's been acting as support here quite some time. There are a lot of dip bars in the vicinity. If we lose that, we got the 200 SMA there. So those are the levels to watch. One last one, Google, and let you guys go. I think Google's been Google's actually has the best looking trend because it didn't go like straight up. Even when we look at like a monthly chart, look at that. It has that very nice angle compared to when we look at Amazon or Nvidia, where it just went pretty much almost 90. But like Google has, you know, it has shares of up and downs, pretty size of pullback. Google is actually most healthy looking uptrend compared to like when you go to like Nvidia. I mean, like look at that thing. You know what I mean? Like, or like Amazon, like, you know, look at that thing, right? But when you go to like Google, it's much more. Look at that, like it's much more stable trend where it gets kind of a lot of that up and down, and I think it's sustainable. I think it's sustainable. But we got some levels here to look at. You can see last time this level, prior resistance, acted as new support. So that's the level that you could possibly look into, potentially a new support in that vicinity. Somewhere there's 50 MA in that, coinciding with that at 1188. And then we got some gaps here at 1157. I think those two levels are gonna be acting as support potentially before going higher here. One last time before I let you guys go. Right now, as I finish this video, we have another hour and a half to go. And S&P is currently up 0.37%. Russell is up 0.44%. I'm wondering about Dow. Dow is up 0.57%. So yeah, looking good here. But we did fill this gap, so let's see if that acts as resistance or not, and we'll go from there. Well, that's everything for me. So you guys have a wonderful weekend, and good luck trading next week.